You know, I see you around, I've seen you around Los Angeles.
Sure.
You work here in Los Angeles, you shoot your show here in Los Angeles, but you were shooting this movie in New York City.
Yes.
Was that okay? I mean, it's
Yes.
quite a different environment to shoot in.
It is. I love shooting in New York City. You see all kinds of stuff, all kinds of crazy stuff.
Right.
Because in LA, I don't know, I feel like in Los Angeles, people are more used to it maybe, so they stay out of your way. Whereas in New York, you just feel like you're in everybody else's way.
Yes.
All the time.
Well, it's in LA, it's like, oh, that's a movie, and it's an industry town, and
Sure.
everyone's so savvy. Oh, they're going for the wide shot. I better go around this way.
Exactly.
But when you're in New York, it's an oddity. If you're
Yes.
making a movie, it's like, wow, they're making a movie.
Completely, and I totally understand it. We are in everybody's way. We're throwing a wrench into everybody's day. So we were shooting this movie, a bit of it in Chinatown. So I was in Chinatown, waiting around, a bit bored, because you're always bored when you're shooting a movie and you're always waiting around doing nothing. So I was on the phone, and all of a sudden I hear this guy, like, screaming at me in Mandarin or Cantonese. I don't know. I don't speak either of those
You really
languages.
should know the difference.
I should know. I do
How
know.
insensitive of you not to know the difference between
I
Cantonese
should
and
have known,
Mandarin.
but I
Yeah.
do know that the man was definitely Chinese, and it was not English
Yeah.
when he was yelling at
And
me.
he's yelling at you. Why was he yelling at you?
Well, I wasn't sure at first, so I began yelling back, as one does.
Yeah.
And then I realized that he was yelling at me based on his hand gestures because I was standing in the doorway of his restaurant, loitering.
Yes.
Not cool.
Right.
So I apologized. I backed off. I went to my trailer. About an hour later, still waiting around, still doing nothing, but this time I'm kind of staying close to home so I don't
Sure.
piss anybody else off.
Yeah.
And I see this guy, the same guy, the yelling guy, in this park across the street from where my trailer is.
Right.
And he's with his friends, and they're having a nice time. They're all giggling. He clearly likes these people way more than he liked me. And
He's with his friends. He's hanging in the park.
yeah,
It's
he's
all
having
good.
a nice time. We're in Chinatown, but it was also the summer, very hot, very muggy, very smelly, and garbage day.
Yeah.
Again, in Chinatown.
Sure.
So the streets are littered with big garbage bags full of what I assume is old Chinese food,
Yeah.
just baking in the sun.
Sure.
Which is the other thing that I kind of marvel about in New York, which are the rats, the size and the population of the rats.
Yeah, you almost get used to it. I lived in New York a long time, and you just see these massive rats.
I do not get used to it. They come right at you. They come right at you. It's like the natural order is all screwed up. You have
Yeah.
to avoid the rats instead
Yeah.
of the rats avoiding you. So out of the corner of my eye, I see the biggest rat I've ever, bigger than you, Aziz.
Wow, that's a big rat.
Huge.
A massive
Yeah,
rat.
the biggest rat you've ever seen, and it runs right towards this guy who was yelling at me. And it doesn't stop or change directions. It runs up.
What?
Up the man.
The man who was yelling at you, it ran
Yeah,
up his chest?
to his chest and by his face, and he's trying to get rid of the rat, and he finally launches it off of him. It was like a waking nightmare. It was
Yeah.
horrible. It went
Yeah.
like for his throat. And the really strange part about it was that his friends and this guy, his reaction was to kind of laugh it off. Like it was no big deal. Like it was a pretty positive reaction to this.
He shoves the rat away, and then they go right back to chatting.
Right
like,
back to
that was
laughing.
some rat that attacked my
Exactly.
throat.
Exactly. And this is the guy that screamed at me for standing in his doorway. And he's perfectly all right with a rat in his face. And so that was my New York moment.
I would take that very personally.
Well, yeah.
That you were like, get out! Get out!
Exactly.
Ah, rat, come to me!
Yeah, he's a beautiful man who thought I was a million times more disgusting than a rat.